Minister, you talked today about the school shortage you know, you couldn't even actually force the builders to hand over sites for schools at current use value. You had to allow your friends in the building industry to demand top dollar for school sites as well. For what has happened, oh, it is true. Oh, it is true. For what has happened,
Deals on zoning.
What about the rest of them?
For what? Oh, you're a great survivor from the old Dublin County Council. Don't let's get into tribunal land now. I wouldn't advise it in your case or that of your party in relation to land values and land rezoning. For what has happened in the housing market, Minister, you and your government have to take responsibility. The short-termism of winning votes in the general election led you, your department and financial regulators to turn a blind eye to what was happening in the financial and housing market. The measures you have introduced today to offer additional mortgage interest relief, they are welcome. But what we need are measures to control speculation in housing land and that people's homes are for living in and not for speculative frenzy. If your government was not so deep in vested interest to land and property speculators, you would surely already have addressed this issue. The fact that the fall in house prices at the moment is being accompanied by rising rents. How's that for crazy economics? House prices fall and rents go up only in Ireland, only in America, you know, reflects the impact that uncertainty is having on the market. There's a strong underlying demand for housing, but first-time buyers in particular are wary of making such a major purchase in a falling market. It is hard to see where this will end and when prices will level out. At the same time, there is a substantial downturn in construction activity. It was always the case that the level of activity and employment in the housing sector was unsustainable. But the uncertainty about house prices means that the number of houses being built is falling rapidly. I didn't see, by the way, in the pages your estimate on the number of houses to be built. I don't know if we'll get them. I mean, it seemed to be falling down below 50,000, or I couldn't find them in the book. I don't know what you're now expecting. But, you know, rising rents are only helping investors. We need houses as homes for families. It's notable that even in relation to the reliefs that you offered, the tax relief for people renting went up by 11%, but the tax relief for the people renting out a room went up by 31%. So you see, Minister, in a way, you're still trying to have it both ways. You're trying to keep the investors above all else happy, but at the same time, you're not putting the priorities of families who want to buy houses as homes to live in. We have now, because of the way the market is turning, pro-investors as against families and individuals buying to live in an area. We have a problem in every part of the country, in every new estate, with an over-dominance of investors who are churning tenants. The tenants keep changing. The consequence is that in many of those new estates, you can't build up communities. Talk to your local GAA club. If the tenants keep changing every year, how do you develop community? And you haven't got that balance right yet, Minister. You're still trying to have it both ways. Last year, you promised to close off some of the loopholes in stamp duty, which were allowing property developers to avoid paying stamp duty on some very large transactions. You failed to proceed with that as promised. Again, I think, you know, you're listening more to the big developers than you're listening to the people who want to buy a home to live in. Today's budget bears more than a passing resemblance to the budgets of 2003 and 2004 after the 2002 election. It's now standard operational procedure for Fianna Fáil to throw money around before an election and then to retrench, cut back and tax in the immediate aftermath. It seems we're to have a revival of that particular musical from the McCreevy days. The rate of growth in the economy has slowed significantly. It's one thing to present an optimistic picture, but it's another thing to be in denial. We are coming down from 14% spending growth and pre-election largesse, and you say today that you hope to keep growth in current spending around 8.2%. We need a different approach to fiscal policy to face up to such different circumstances. Unfortunately, the corrective measures today being put forward by the Minister, we don't know and we won't know how this will impact. We saw the impact this year already of the HSE trying to live more moderately within its budget, and the consequences of the cutbacks were not pleasant. Even as expenditure growth is brought down to a more sustainable level, we must have regard to key economic and social objectives, and it is unfortunate, though not surprising, that Minister Cowan failed today in that task. It may well be that Ireland is heading for a period of slower growth. It's going to take a number of years for the imbalances built up under this government's stewardship to unwind. But even a smaller rate of growth, skillfully managed, should be capable of yielding a dividend. In most European countries, a growth rate of 2.5% to 3%, which is what the Minister is projecting, would yield social improvements and a social dividend for families. What are we getting for the 8% increase in current spending? A fairly minimal social welfare budget, and we have most departments being told to soldier on for another year with no extra resources for any service improvements. I note, Minister, that even the allocation to the fire services in the Department of the Environment absolutely fail to provide for a full local fire service in Bray, even after the awful tragedy that town experienced recently. The vast bulk of the expenditure plans in this document are devoted to keeping things as they are. In other words, it is the government's intention to simply plough on doing things the way they've always done them. There will be plenty of rhetoric about the need for other people to be realistic, for other people to be more productive, but there will be no serious way to change the way the government conducts its own affairs, so that we might see some real progress out of this 8% spending growth. The Minister has provided for a significant increase in capital spending at 12%. We have urged a more ambitious capital investment programme in public transport and in research for years, and of course we welcome the additional resources for the National Development Programme. But I wish I could have more confidence in the Cabinet's capacity to deliver the projects on time and on budget. And let me mention two cases in point. Ireland now lags dangerously behind in broadband access. The CEO of eBay, a big employer in my own constituency, tells us of his embarrassment, that's his words, when he has to reveal Ireland's weakness in this area to his international colleagues. The percentage of Irish businesses and homes with access to broadband is one of the lowest among Europe's leading states. More importantly, he highlights how this may seriously reduce Ireland's chances in securing new foreign investment projects. Secondly, let me mention the annual bugbear of integrated ticketing, a really essential precondition for the operation of improved public transport. Tens of millions have been spent with no end product to date. Has it moved forward one iota in the last 12 months? Who's in charge of it? Most major cities operate one, even where there's a mixed delivery of services by private and public operators. Munich, Rome, Lisbon operate smart cards that offer a seamless transfer from buses to trains to trams. I wonder, has the Taoiseach ever used the Metrolink of his beloved Manchester to get to Old Trafford, or does he get the friends over there to put on the limousine service